Alright, hey everybody, Mobile Rager here, and we've got the new season patch notes. It's been a minute, because last season just didn't have any. Though, on that note, I don't think the gadgets have ever come in. Not these ones. These ones. Before the first war of this season. Okay. So, like 3 days. Yeah, about 3 days. Okay, hey everybody. This season we're revisiting some of our original tunes by giving them quite the tune-up, as well as some minor buffs for Lunar Draghorn, which yeah, probably could use some. I'd have him better fulfill his role as a stalwart defender for the Lunar team, such as he has quite the competition in that slot. Yeah, Lunar Toro is pretty good. Well, the list of changes here is not that extensive. To remind you all the upcoming changes to gadgets, subscribe to another blog post. Make sure you check those out to stay fully up to date. Also have some more changes coming to the Alliance Wars format after the recent de-escalation. So taking a lot of the feedback into account and more complex system changes like matchmaking are still under development. We'll be doing whatever changes we can to try and make the wars the most enjoyable they can be. So yeah, I don't know if you caught up on that de-escalation plot. No, I read it or something, or maybe I didn't. I don't know. I did, but I don't know. It's been a little bit of a mixed reception because in one element, if you had built up like 40 teams, war was really the only way you got to use them all. But it's also like just a lot of people couldn't. I mean, having to do like 8 teams for tower on defense. It was hard for people to provide for, especially lower end players. I mean, I'm certified mid-game Andy, which probably shouldn't be considering playing since global launch, but you know, whatever. But you know, it's like, you know. But some people think they swung a little too far in the other direction, because admittedly you can only do 15 attacks. Like, you're using basically half the teams you were originally. So, like, you know, there might be more space for attacking. The matchmaking is probably a more concrete solution. And finally, before we move on to the big pieces of information, there's one small update I'd like to announce. Maximum T slots will be increased. Alright, it's cool. Because not had many. And unchanged for a fresh minute. Okay. Tale of War and Pieces. Coming this season, we have our beloved pairing of Coyote and Roadrunner actually coming together as a team of sorts. With the introduction of Acme Damaged Coyote, this team will feature reworks to the OG Wile and Roadrunner, as well as Batsuit Wile, who'll be leaving the Masterminds for a much more fitting team. Yeah. I mean, even when the Masterminds is kind of just assorted smart tunes. I mean, you know, like Starfare, Marvin, and everything have been in the game for forever. Yeah, it's like Batsuit and Litigator. Some of the ones they're like, yeah, okay. This team's focus is on retelling the many stories that Wile and Roadrunner have gone through and unleashing the accumulated power of each chapter in their story for battle-ending effects. It's a sneak peek into their theme passive. Okay, One Piece's friendship skill. War and Pieces tunes gain a storyline token at the start of each of their turns. Storyline tokens stack to 5 max and will empower the tunes and their abilities. Okay. So reviewing War and Pieces, Coyote OG, not a master. I should probably read this. The Cunning Coyote is getting a full prop up, shifting his role from a coin-flipping glass cannon attacker to a steady source of damage with versatility and utility skills. This should both enormously increase his consistency, as well as place him at the centerpiece of the offensive game plan for his team. So he's part of War and Pieces now. You know, I got a pun. So good bit of speed, a lot of health. It's not almost double defense, but you know, numbers. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like normal damage multiplier, it's a little extra crit chance, which is really what I thought they would do with this skill. Okay, improvise. The tune has plus 10% critical chance, 5% attack for each storyline token it has. While this tune remains in battle, team members gain a piercing up at the start of their turns for each storyline token this tune has. Okay, train move, cooldown and actions, nice. I mean, it might be more than 3, I have no idea, I just was assuming. Deal 140 damage to target enemy, inflicting 3 defense down for 2 turns, and removing 50% turn meter. For each storyline token this tune has, grant all team members 5% attack for 5 turns, and all War and Pieces team members 10% crit chance for 5 turns. Oh, then you lose all of them. Interesting. So max of 25 and 50. Because yeah, you're capped at 5. Yeah, bird mode. It's a little extra funny lifesteal for bird tunes, which is kind of nice, because admittedly that applies to like foghorns, that applies to daffies, and you know, daffy's pretty common. There's any other birds? I don't miss Prissy, obviously, but any solo team she's on, because we really, I mean, cops maybe, but you use this Officer Prissy. But I would say most of the time she's with Foghorn. But yeah, so you know, I mean, again, circumstantial life heal, but you know, if it works, it works. For each bird on the battlefield, which will include your team, so you know, they said Roadrunner is going to be on it, so you get that buff. Your team has plus 10% attack and piercing. It's alright, so that's like an average plus 20 attack and piercing, so okay. Because guarantee you're going to have one bird team member. Because it's 3 Wileys and Roadrunner. And then, no, yeah, that's about it. Okay, so I got the rock here. Does some extra damage, inflicts defense down. Okay, and then it's, rather than you know, being RNG, it's a choice. Interesting. Interesting. I think it's amped up. That's the crit and speed one. I remember now. Yeah, then the theme skill. Okay, yeah. So he has amped up instead. So Roadrunner energy. Roadrunner is being reworked to better fit the support role. Being reworked to access the active healing, while also double down on his debuffing and buff removal skills. Keeping his stats a bit in check, since we're also hugely tuning up his speed to truly reflect his uncatchable nature, leaving the vast majority of tunes in the dust, giving him a new passive skill for more room to synergize the other War and Pieces tunes. That's cool. Oh, yeah, he's on Wild West for some reason. I forget that was the tag all the time. Right, they could do things with it. There's a lot of like, you know, triple long daffies they could totally manufacture into a team, but probably don't listen to my ideas. Yeah, I mean, he's already base 2-3. Just like, yeah, say what Coyote is now. Now it'd be base 250. That's pretty fast. Because admittedly, like, these are baseline numbers, so, you know, like, tune-up levels. Well, tune-up doesn't affect speed. These don't affect any stats. But like star level, cosmics, boosts, not a factor. So it'll probably be like 500 or something. 90% damage, inflicting 3 random stat down. Yeah, see, now this is the healing move, the funny speed. For each storyline token this tune has, grant all team members plus 5% speed. So yeah, less damage, it does stat down rather than buff removal. This heals, grants speed. For each storyline token this tune has, grant all team members plus 5% speed for 5 turns. All War and Pieces team members plus 10% dodge for 5 turns. Yeah, 50% dodge for 5 turns sounds annoying. And then you lose your tokens. Alright, so Hurricane. Really, this has a lot more numbers. It's not like Lunar Toro, where they basically just nerfed it. 10 stat down or special stat down. It's more than it did before, even if it wouldn't hit. But admittedly, reading it does more damage. It removes more buffs, and it can. It removes basically the same quantity of buffs. Assuming they're above 75% max health, although that does bring up the question of would this trigger before. Like, saying does it do the max health calculation first? Because if it does the damage, yeah, I think I would have it buff clear first, to be honest. Well, okay, in Arena, the buff threshold's a little different, and crits. Interesting, I guess this is kind of a crit team. Just figured that was Wile's thing. I mean, Acme Archer Coyote crits on a team that's basically nothing to do with it. Like, they just do that sometimes. It's weird. Right, like, we'll just get rid of the couldn't get rid of before. Cause get rid of Sherbrus, get rid of Taunt, get rid of Hidden. Damage Unity maybe? I don't know if you even would have before. Cause I think it would have. A lot of the time, those cleanses are reliant on damaging the enemy for some reason. Or damage immunities and count as a buff, I have no idea. But yeah, I don't know. The point is, it probably hit everything you'd want it to hit. I mean, sure buffs, taunt, hidden. So yeah, that's about it. That's your lot. Alright, so extra base dodge chance, less than incapacitated once per turn whenever a team member dodges an attack. Inflict the attacking enemy with attack and speed down. That team member's a War and Pieces tune, inflicts 3 attack down, 3 speed down instead. Okay, and here's the new thing. Okay, it has extra healing and speed for each storyline token it has. Means in battle. Whenever a team member attacks an enemy, they're healed for 10% heal power for each storyline token they have. Okay. Sort of. That it's not even passive lifesteal really, but I think it kinda is. this combined with this passive dodge chance is like plus 80. I didn't say anything about it. Yeah, uncatchable nature. I mean, I guess this is a speed thing. Alright, so Batsuit, while his OG version is being brought out of the glass cannon roll, we're very much keeping Batsuit Wile in it, shifting his focus from stacking speed ups to instead benefit himself and other worn pieces team members with attack up, paired with incredibly powerful attacks, also shifting his defensive aspects from random dodge chance to a setup active skill, an aerial flourish, should now allow him quicker access to reworked clear skies trigger. Sorry, I got numbers. Damage, gaining attack up if it's used against a roadrunner enemy, remove turn meter. Yeah, okay, so he still does the thing. Serve each of his turns unless incapacitate his turns for more attack up, move all taunt and hidden for the enemy team. Just, well, I didn't clear hidden before. Alright, this is a little uniquer. Ah, he has sure dodge on it. I see. Grant all team members 3 of each stat up, inflict all enemies a 2 of each attack down, or stat down. And turn meter in arena. Yeah, okay, so I get why they sort of changed him in this way, because it could be like passivity. Because before, I should say, Batsuit was actually pretty good back before like Alliance R&D existed and there were stat caps to things. So as you see here, he gained speed and then converted it into attack up, and then he used the boulder and just blow everybody up. But you can't do that no more. So they had to take his design in a different direction, which I get. This tune is plus 10% piercing and plus 5% attack for each storyline token it has, while this tune remains in battle, team members gain attack up at the start of their turns for each storyline token this tune has. It's kind of the same thing as Coyote, right? Oh, I'm sorry, he gets piercing up. My bad, how different. Is Roadrunner or something like that? No, that's his attached effect. Okay, so there's at least another team member here with dodge. Alright, boulder move. 150% damage to target enemy, ignoring all dodge, counter, and damage immunity. That's nice. There's a lot in this game that ignores damage immunity. For each storyline token the tune has, plus 5% attack, and all worn pieces team members have extra piercing, then you lose them, yeah. And agility, okay, so he's moving. Yeah, the team in general seems pretty moving, so seems interesting. We have Foghorn here. When undergoing any sort of major, you're buffing his defensive stats. It'll allow enemy attackers build up for his ascension. Speed, aim for him to make better use of his offense potential. Alright, I still don't have Lunar Acorn, like I have 1,000 pieces of them, so it's gonna be a long time coming. But I just can't say I'd use them over Foghorn. My issue with the other Lunar team members, I mean, for starters, you can't really split them because there's not another support. So you'd have to take like a generic. Oh. You'd have to take a generic support, is my point. But also like just a little generic, or that's not even that. I phrased that incorrectly. They're too specific, actually. I almost meant the opposite of what I said. Alright, I don't know what the war changes are. We'd like to thank everybody for their patience as we continue making adjustments to Alliance Wars. Before I'm gonna... Excuse me. Before I get into this war here, I'm gonna scroll it back. Talk about the lunars. The issue with like lunar bugs, lunar Lola, and I imagine this extends to Foghorn. They're too specialized. Okay, because most of the original lunars were like one debuff, you know. Petunia, I mean, Speedy likes speed down, and Penelope likes defense down. The two are weird, they're more like stat up stacking, but in general, you know. Like, they weren't reliant on the enemy to have some of their effects activate, but like, you know, Lunar Lola is not giving your team counter chance without the enemy to go off of it first. And like, at least Lunar Bugs compare with Lunar the Speedy, since they're both dodge based. But he also has anti-synergy with Toro, because he wants to be hit, so like, Foghorn can solve that, but... yeah, still, it just feels like a downgrade. Yeah, honestly, I think I blame his skills on his defensive stats, but... Alright, we'd like to thank everybody for their patience, continue making adjustments to Alliance Wars. Before we get to the latest changes in the next update, we would like to shed lights on a few key points. First and foremost, the current Alliance Wars a tier structured system that can be adjusted to each player's individual preferences, but instead is a singular team-oriented format. Let's have a universal appeal to new players, casual players, veterans, hardcore players simultaneously, which, I mean, yeah, most people, at least, they should be interested in more. Also find a balanced middle ground that, while not perfect for any one group of players, is engaging and fun for all groups. I mean, it seems like a hard balance to strike, but that would be me. Changes we make in regards to time consumption, roster requirements, skill levels, alliance member management, more affect every player, so are all driven by this goal. Keep in mind that Alliance Wars is not a dedicated game mode focused on optional individual progression with the intent of having players utilize as much of their roster as they can. Yeah, true. Well, I don't know, like, I get why they made it that way, because it was the easiest thing to staple that onto. But what I will say is, you know, maybe you should make a game mode that does do that. Might be a thought. If we're gonna have more than 50 teams, maybe there should be a need for more than like 30 of them. And of course we have more than 50 teams, but I'm saying they're increasing the team slots, because I think that wasn't enough. There's probably like 70 useful tags in this game. And some of them multiple teams, so you could totally run 2 sets of knights. Yeah, so that's their junior as a support, I forgot for a second. One of them would be a lot weaker than the other, but it's a functional team. Yeah, alliance-oriented game mode, I mean, it's literally called Alliance Wars. Competitive game mode, that should be decided with the shared player mentality of equal participation that everyone can achieve, having players focus on a portion of their roster that provides them the best outcomes for within the mode. Now, oh wait, hold on. I do acknowledge the lack of a proper game mode or feature that allow players to get the most use out of their roster while in it, and having discussions regarding this. I mean, hey, if you wanna, like, make things for this video game, that would be nice. That would be awesome. It's been like 2 entire years. Yeah, maybe you can make something for the video game. Sure. I feel like they do something annoying instead, like an 84 tower. But maybe I'm too cynical. You know, like something easier rather than just actively make an entirely new game mode that would use some 40 odd teams. Because the goal for Alliance War is ongoing effort to continue monitor this mode for the foreseeable future. Now, take a look at the upcoming change on the image report. Do things. Adding an energy refill. Increasing the total amount of energy. Okay, this I understand, because I was talking about it earlier. Some people think there's too little attacks. Because really there was a sort of a tactical value to the amount of attacks you had before. You know, higher team members could sort of punch up for the lower ones that may not even need to use all of them. But why energy refill? Like, there's a whole point to removing it. Because it was annoying. You had to do your attacks by X time. Sure, it's 1, not sets of 8 for some godforsaken reason. But you still won't log in fairly early. A, pass the 12-hour threshold. B, just to start it at all. So it feels a little reductive. It's like, this is the issue we just fixed. Just staple 6 more energy to one and 7 more energy to the other. It doesn't feel that hard. Okay, increase defenses on select nodes. These numbers. Okay. Well, these are the same, these are the same. Okay, so slightly more on the pawn towers, and there's, yeah, precisely 1 more on the ship. But yeah, the normal cannons and towers, so to speak, are about the same. Now, sure, although the pawn towers are exactly the same in each format, which is a little strange. At least here, sure, it's the same amount of teams, but they required less attacks on medium. You probably knock it back down to 6. Or just do the same thing and make it 4 on one, 5 on the other. So 900 attacks in total. Know what defending HP means. Attack defense ratios, I guess, Steven or evener. This new energy flow should bring about a few positive changes back to Alliance Wars. Firstly, while we're adding back energy refills system, we're doing so at the largest time frame possible. I mean, true, but players a few more hours than previous versions to begin their attacks. I mean, ideally, it's do the attacks whenever. That's why there was no energy system. But sure. There's some back-end issue to understand where energy is capped at 15. They can't increase the minimum, or the maximum, I should say. More accommodating for those who are unable to begin attacking immediately without losing any potential energy. With more time to assess each invasion between waves, encourage more communication and planning. Sure. Secondly, the total number of energy for each player will be increased slightly. This should have more roster utilization by all players. Lastly, to not compensate for the increase of attacks, increase the total number of defenses. The pawn, these nodes are generally occupied by the strongest players with the greatest rosters. We're footless there for a second. We will be quiet. I'm hunting Wastus in the Alliance, and should allow them to show off more of their teams without sacrificing their offense potential. Regional structures remain unchanged, so that players with more focused rosters can still have a meaningful impact. It changes total energy and defenses. We also adjusted the win-loss ratio to be slightly less demanding than the last Alliance War was. Is that what this these numbers at the bottom are about? Sure. While you're enjoying these changes, our next point of concern is matchmaking. Can't provide any specifics or a time frame of arrival, as the dev process can be a tricky one. We ask for your continued patience and hope to bring it to you as soon as it's ready for the world to mayhem. Okay, so that's the end of this blog post. I'm gonna check if it didn't jump scare me with anything else. Nope. Okay, no season 32 yet. So that was the video, guys. I mean, hey, never always gonna take excuse to use OG Wile, but you know, I'm the more wager. That's all, folks.